You ever sit there in dead silence after she just unloaded every insult she could find, and instead of firing back, you just stared? Not in weakness, not because you had no words, but because you were done playing her game. And for the first time, she looked unsure. That moment, that stillness, it wasn't passive, it was power. And if that made your heart beat a little faster, then you're exactly where you need to be right now. Because today, I'm not just talking about how to destroy any woman without saying anything. I'm handing you the emotional discipline that flips every script, the self-control that turns chaos into obedience, and the mindset that reshapes not just your relationships, but your entire life. Comment, no reaction, all power, if you've ever reached that point of mental clarity, and you're ready to turn the pain into purpose. Number 1, silence shatters control. Every time she yells, complains, or criticizes, it's not about the volume of her voice. It's about testing your center, probing to see if you'll bend, fold, or crumble under pressure. She's not seeking peace, she's seeking control. And the moment you start responding to noise with noise, reacting to chaos with chaos, or trying to fix something that's being broken on purpose, you've already lost the plot. Because whether you admit it or not, the moment you make your life about winning her validation instead of fulfilling your purpose, you shrink. You dim your light so she doesn't feel overshadowed. You fold your spine so she doesn't feel intimidated. You pull back on your mission to prove you're safe, kind, acceptable. But nothing kills attraction faster than a man who's trying to be liked. Respect isn't born in comfort, it's forged in clarity. And clarity comes when you stop dancing to emotional music. She plays when she's bored, stressed, or needs attention. This isn't about ignoring her, it's about ignoring what's beneath you. Emotional traps disguised as conversations, manipulations disguised as vulnerability, tests disguised as just talking. Stop taking the bait. When she raises her voice, it's not your job to meet her tone. When she accuses, it's not your duty to justify. When she mocks, it's not your job to restore the peace. Peace is her responsibility too. But you've been programmed to be the emotional janitor, always cleaning up after her mess, always making her feel okay, always turning down your power to keep the peace that she keeps breaking. That ends now. You walk in your own energy. You don't raise your voice. You raise your standard. You don't react. You choose. You don't try to win her. You win at life. And in that victory, you become undeniable. Imagine a life where you no longer ask for permission to speak, to feel, to lead. Imagine being the man who can sit through her storm without flinching. Not because he's numb, but because he's built on principles so deep they're not moved by noise. That's the level where power lives. That's the level where her chaos loses grip. She doesn't know what to do with a man who can't be pulled into the spiral. She can't control what doesn't need her. And when she realizes you'll be fine whether she stays or leaves, she changes. Not because you begged, but because you didn't. This isn't cruelty. This is alignment. When you stop making her the center of your decisions, your emotions, your days, you come back to yourself. That self who had vision before she distracted you. That self who had drive before she slowed you down. That self who had peace before she weaponized your care. From now on, you speak only when needed. Not to defend, not to win, but to state facts, draw lines, and walk away. Your value isn't in how loud you yell back. It's in how silent you can be while still leading the room. You lead by being present, clear, unshaken. Let her yell. Let her perform. You are not there to entertain dysfunction. You're not there to wrestle with chaos. You are there to build a life so full, so centered, so on mission that no one, not even her, can interrupt it. That's what makes her respect you. That's what draws her in. Not your words, but your unshakable walk. Not your effort to please, but your refusal to bend. Become the man who doesn't need applause to do what's right. The man who doesn't need approval to know he's on course. The man who doesn't let drama sit at his table. And if she walks, let her, because a woman who thrives on your reaction will die in your stillness. And once you realize that, you'll never lose yourself to noise again. If you're ready to not just know these principles but live them, then the Stoic relationship blueprint for men is your next move. This isn't just a book, it's your foundation. It's filled with timeless Stoic principles that shift your mindset from reaction to power, from emotional chaos to complete clarity, and now it's available as an audiobook. You can listen to it while walking, training, driving, or even just taking a quiet moment to yourself. And once you own it, it's yours forever. No subscriptions, just pure, life-changing insight you can return to anytime your focus slips or your peace is tested. The link is in the comments. Don't wait to keep learning the hard way. Let this be the moment everything changes. Number 2. Don't reward drama. Drama survives on attention, and every time you feed it with a response, whether it's anger, concern, reassurance, or even silence laced with anxiety, you train her to escalate, to twist emotions into weapons, to manipulate outcomes by simply turning up the volume. And the truth is, many men don't realize they're trapped in a loop, one that starts with, "I just want peace," and ends with giving away every inch of their power to maintain a relationship that constantly holds their sanity hostage. She doesn't respect the man who chases her tears with apologies when he did nothing wrong, who rushes to fix emotional fires she lights herself, who changes his truth just to prevent a scene. She loses attraction because she sees weakness dressed as compassion, and deep down, she knows this kind of man is not leading. He's following emotional chaos like a dog chasing cars. If you want to kill drama, starve it. It can't breathe in stillness. It can't survive when you walk away instead of reacting, when you prioritize your day over her outbursts, when you make peace in your life louder than the noise in her voice. That doesn't mean you become cold or detached from reality. It means you develop the emotional discipline to recognize when something's not worth your energy, because not every tear deserves a response, not every accusation deserves clarity, and not every breakdown deserves your presence. Imagine a life where your focus isn't stolen by drama, where your mornings aren't dictated by texts full of guilt trips, where your entire day isn't rearranged because someone decided to create emotional smoke just to watch you scramble. Now imagine that you're no longer the fireman, that you simply stop showing up, that you let the fire burn itself out, that you let the scene play out without giving it your stage. That's power. That's how she learns. Not through lectures, not through fights, but through the absence of reaction, the vacuum of attention. She expects you to fix, to explain, to apologize. Don't. Instead, protect your space. Guard your peace like it's gold, because it is. The man who can walk away from emotional bait and return to his goals, his gym, his craft, his purpose, is the man she can't shake. And whether she admits it or not, that's the man she desires most. Not the one who bends, not the one who breaks, the one who remains. Start today by auditing where you reward drama in your life. Look at who gets your time, who gets your energy, and who pulls you off center the most, and begin to remove the emotional oxygen they feed on. Set time blocks in your day where your phone is off, where your focus is sacred. Learn to hear a complaint without responding to it. Learn to see a meltdown without trying to cool it. The more you stand in your stillness, the more she's forced to stand in her reflection. And that discomfort, that's where real accountability is born. But she'll never reach it if you keep interrupting the lesson. So, pull back. Let her miss your attention. Let her realize it's not unconditional. Let her earn it back through peace, respect, and alignment, not through chaos. This is how you shift the entire relationship dynamic. This is how you stop being her emotional safety net and start becoming the standard. Because when you reward peace and ignore drama, you change the game. She either levels up or she leaves. And either way, you win. Number 3, never defend yourself. You think defending yourself is strength? It's not. It's desperation in disguise. Because the second you start explaining yourself to someone who has already decided to twist your words, misinterpret your intentions, or manipulate your reality, you've lost not just the argument, but your frame, your peace, and worst of all, your position as the leader of your own life. Defending yourself puts you on trial for crimes you didn't commit. It turns you into the defendant of your own masculinity, and the courtroom is rigged because the judge, the jury, and the executioner are all emotionally unstable and never looking for the truth, only for compliance, submission, and guilt. Every time you explain why you didn't mean it like that, or how you're not the guy she's accusing you of being, you send one clear message. Your perception of me is more important than my reality. And once she knows that, you become hers to control. That's why you feel exhausted. That's why every argument feels like you're running in circles, because you're trying to win a game where logic doesn't matter and the rules change based on how she feels. Imagine a man standing in a room where false accusations are flying, emotional daggers are thrown, and the temperature is rising, not because he's guilty, but because he's present. That man speaks only once, if at all. He doesn't plead, he doesn't explain. He simply walks away, not in anger, but in clarity. That's strength, not because he doesn't care, but because he refuses to shrink himself to convince someone else of what he already knows. And you can be that man. You can stop justifying your worth to people who benefit from your self-doubt. You can stop begging to be seen when you already see yourself. It begins with self-certainty. Start by getting painfully honest. Do you explain yourself out of fear or confidence? Do you clarify your intentions because you want to connect, or because you're afraid she'll leave? Because if it's the second one, you're being held hostage by the idea of being misunderstood, and that's a prison built on approval addiction. Break out. Train yourself to sit in discomfort. Let her misinterpret. Let her assume. Let her throw shade in the dark. You don't owe her a flashlight. You owe yourself alignment. Because the truth is, no one can take away your clarity unless you hand it over to make them feel comfortable. So next time she tries to provoke you into explaining something you didn't do or defending a feeling you didn't cause, just don't. Let her wrestle with her own assumptions. Let her sit in the tension of not getting a reaction. It'll burn at first, but over time, it'll build a quiet dominance in you that nothing can break. And from that place, you no longer defend. You define. You define your values, your time, your energy, your standards, and people adjust to that or disappear. Either way, your life moves forward. That's the shift. That's how you stop defending yourself and start becoming undeniable. Not with arguments, but with boundaries. Not with validation, but with vision. So let go of the need to be understood. You're not here to be explained. You're here to be experienced, and only by those who earn the right. Number 4, let her words hang in the air. One of the most underestimated power moves a man can make is to let her words hang in the air without response, without explanation, without any emotional payout, because in a world that has conditioned you to chase peace through participation, to solve every emotional fire with water, to jump into every misunderstanding like it's your responsibility to fix it, silence becomes more than just the absence of noise. It becomes your weapon, your wall, your boundary, and your revelation, because when you refuse to be dragged into a verbal arena where the rules change based on how she feels, you regain control over something far more valuable than the conversation, You reclaim control over yourself. Most men argue endlessly, hoping to be understood, hoping that if they just say it the right way, she'll stop twisting their words, stop bringing up old wounds, stop weaponizing their vulnerability. But the truth is, she doesn't want resolution. She wants reaction, because your emotional energy validates her behavior, and the moment you stop reacting, the system collapses. It leaves her alone with her own echo, her own guilt, her own manipulation, and the longer you let the words float without catching them, without giving them a platform, the louder they become in her own mind. And that's when change begins. Not when you explain, not when you plead, but when you refuse to reward dysfunction with your attention. This is how power works. Not in trying to win the argument, but in refusing to play the game. And you do that by mastering the pause, by holding your tongue, by allowing the weight of her words to land where they belong, on her. Imagine this. She throws a passive-aggressive jab, something meant to provoke you, maybe a comment about how you've changed or how you don't care like you used to. Old you would try to clarify, defend, prove her wrong. But the man you are now, he lets the words float, unanswered. He gives her nothing, no validation, no pushback, not even a smirk. And in that space, she hears herself. She feels the void of reaction, and it forces her to reflect, because your silence becomes her mirror. And that mirror is brutal, because now she has to sit with the fact that her emotional volatility is no longer effective, no longer pulling strings, no longer controlling your world. This doesn't just fix the argument, it rewires the entire dynamic. Because when a woman realizes her chaos no longer moves you, she has two choices: rise to your level or remove herself. Either way, you win. You maintain your power, your focus, your mission, because nothing she says can pull you out of alignment unless you allow it. And this isn't about being cold, it's about being precise. You speak when it serves your values, your peace, your truth, not when she demands it. You respond when the conversation is rooted in respect, not when it's laced with manipulation. You engage when it builds clarity, not when it feeds confusion. Start applying this today. The next time someone throws a guilt trip, an emotional outburst, or a baseless accusation, don't catch it. Let it land, let it sit, let them stew in their own projection. It's not your job to rescue people from the discomfort their own behavior creates. It's not your responsibility to explain what they refuse to understand. And it's definitely not your mission to correct people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You're not here to soothe chaos. You're here to build legacy. You're not here to explain your every move. You're here to live in truth. And that means letting her words hang in the air when they are not spoken in love, in truth, or in clarity. That's the move. That's the silence that speaks louder than words ever could. Number 5. Set unbreakable boundaries. If you're not setting the standard, someone else is. And too often, it's the one least qualified to lead your life, your emotions, or worse, hers. The second you allow external emotion to shape your internal direction, you lose your frame, your edge, your clarity. You begin to mold yourself around moods, bending to fit reactions, adjusting your behavior not based on what's right, but based on what keeps the peace, what avoids the next meltdown, what keeps her from saying, "You're not the same anymore." But here's the hard truth. The moment you adjust to keep her, you've already lost her respect. Because she doesn't respect ease, she respects direction. She doesn't admire softness, she admires strength. Not brute force, not noise, not intimidation, but a man whose yes means yes, whose no means no, and whose line, once drawn, is never crossed twice. Boundaries are not rules you explain, they are standards you live. And if you say you won't tolerate disrespect but stay every time it shows up, She learns your words mean nothing. If you say you need peace, but engage in every argument she starts, she knows you'll trade your values for her validation. So you must teach not by talking, but by disappearing from the spaces where your standards are violated. That means walking away, not with anger, not with resentment, but with certainty. When she plays emotional games, withdraw your attention. When she disrespects your time, end the conversation. When she crosses the line, exit the room, the call, the relationship, without explanation. You're not doing it to teach her a lesson. You're doing it because your peace is sacred, and anything that disturbs it without reason does not belong in your life. And this isn't just about relationships. It's about how you do everything. If you let people speak to you in ways that shrink you, you start shrinking. If you let people waste your time, you start seeing your time as worthless. If you keep showing up to environments that drain you, you start living drained. The fix: set the damn standard. Decide in writing what your non-negotiables are. Write them like laws, stick to them like oxygen, and enforce them without noise. Because the loudest standard is the one that doesn't flinch. And yes, people will call you selfish, women will call you cold, friends will say you've changed. Good. Change is the byproduct of clarity, and you're no longer available for confusion. From this moment forward, you lead your life like a man who values every hour, every interaction, every ounce of energy. That means cutting off disrespect without ceremony, ignoring bait without guilt, and responding to manipulation with absence, not retaliation. She says, "You're acting different." You say, "I've raised the standard." She says, "You used to care." You say, "I still care, just not about dysfunction." She cries, screams, tests, pulls away, comes back. None of it matters if you don't budge. That's how boundaries work. Not when they're spoken, but when they're enforced. And no, you don't have to be heartless. You just have to be grounded. Because you'll find that once your boundaries are unshakable, the right people adjust, the wrong ones disappear, and you, for the first time, start breathing in a life that belongs to you. So build the wall, close the door, draw the line, and never again confuse tolerance for strength. Tolerating what drains you is weakness. Protecting your space is wisdom. And every day you hold that line, you train the world how to treat you, not with demands, but with your discipline. And the world will respond. So will she. Some will hate it. The right ones will rise to meet it. And either way, you stay unmoved. Because this time, you're not negotiating with chaos. You're setting the standard that protects your kingdom. Number 6, make her earn your attention again. A man's greatest downfall is giving away what he should make others earn. And nothing gets wasted faster than your attention when it's handed out for free, when it's poured into people, places and situations that haven't proven they deserve to be in your world, especially when that attention is used against you, turned into expectation, weaponized as entitlement, and manipulated as leverage. And yet so many men fall into this trap. They respond instantly to every text, chase every shift in mood, answer every question as if silence is a crime, show up emotionally even after they've been disrespected, give energy to a woman who pulls away just to see if he'll follow. And the more they do it, the more they get trained to believe that being emotionally available is the same thing as being respected, that being responsive is the same thing as being chosen. But the reality is that when your attention is always accessible, it becomes invisible, and no one values what is always available. When she knows she can get your eyes even after a storm she started, your presence even after disrespect she hurled, your affection even after distance she created, she stops seeing it as a privilege and starts treating it as a right. One she doesn't have to earn, one she doesn't have to appreciate, one she feels entitled to manipulate at will. But when you take it back, when you stop giving her attention without behavior that earns it, you reprogram the dynamic. not by punishing her, but by returning to your priorities, your mission, your peace. And that's when the game flips, because the attention she once took for granted becomes the thing she now craves, not because you're playing games, but because you're done being played. So if she pulls away to test you, let her. If she goes cold to bait you, stay warm with yourself. If she flirts with chaos, don't flirt back. Give your attention to what multiplies your peace. Pour your time into pursuits that expand your discipline. Direct your energy toward vision, toward value, toward growth. Let her watch from the outside, not because you hate her, but because you love what you're building more than you love being temporarily validated. And she will feel it. She will notice when the man who once checked in every hour no longer answers within seconds. She will feel the shift when your focus is no longer orbiting her emotions, but grounded in your goals. She will sense the absence, the distance, the vacuum where your constant attention used to be. And that's when the test begins, not just for her, but for you. Because she might come back with promises, apologies, even seduction. But if you give your attention back too soon, without changed behavior, you've taught her nothing. So you hold, you observe, you measure action over emotion, consistency over charm, respect over effort. You don't reward tears when they're followed by the same old cycles. You don't hand over your time just because she misses what she took for granted. You make her show up differently, not because you're cruel, but because you finally realize the weight your attention carries, the impact your presence has, the value of your focus. And if she wants access to that again, she has to rise. No more second chances for first-time disrespect. No more attention as apology for her instability. No more chasing someone who only runs when she's bored. From this point forward, your attention is sacred. It's earned through effort. It's given through merit. It's awarded through alignment. And if she can't meet that standard, you don't bend it. You enforce it. Because you've learned the difference between emotional generosity and spiritual self-neglect. You've felt the cost of giving too much to someone who gave too little. You've lived the chaos of overexposure, and now you choose protection, not walls, but gates. Gates that open to those who match your peace, not those who threaten it. That's how you build your value. That's how you reclaim your edge. That's how you become the man who is never taken for granted again, not by yelling louder, but by walking quieter, not by demanding respect, but by making your energy so rare it demands it naturally. And from this place, you don't need attention. You are the attention. You don't chase presence. You are the presence. You don't lose value. You define it. And anyone who wants to be in your world must match it or watch it from a distance. You've spent enough time shrinking for people who never deserved your full presence. Enough energy defending your truth to people who twisted it. Enough years waiting to be respected while tolerating what drained you. That ends now. If you're ready to live with power, peace, and ruthless clarity, then the Stoic Relationship Blueprint is your next step. It's not just a book, it's a weapon, packed with timeless Stoic principles that will flip the entire game in your favor, and now available as an audiobook you can listen to while walking, training, or taking back your time. No more confusion, no more emotional traps, just pure control. The link's in the comments. If you're ready to stop explaining and start evolving, comment, "I'm done tolerating less" right now. Like this video, subscribe, and help more men find this truth before they waste another decade of their life.